Today, the very first eco protesters from Insulate Britain were jailed for breaking the terms of injunctions. 9 of them were jailed for between 3 and 4 months. I think one, Ben Taylor, received a 6-month sentence after boasting that he immediately wanted to block the motorway again, and if he was released, that's exactly what he would do. Well, he didn't get that opportunity because he was sent to jail. No appeals or anything like that. They have just gone to prisons which I suspect are not insulated. Let's speak to a spokesperson for Insulate Britain and a former NHS doctor, Dr. Bing Jones. Good evening, Bing.
Good evening, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Your thoughts on the jailing of these 9 Insulate Britain protesters?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, these are really brave people. They're standing up for something that they believe in. They see the climate crisis as being absolutely terrifying. They see that the government is pretending to do something, but actually doing nothing like what is needed. And as far as I'm concerned, being in prison is just about the only honourable place to be. So I think they're brave. I'm sure you feel differently, but I think that they are the canary in the coal mine. And in years to come, we'll look back and see these people as standing up for what they believe in an honourable way.
Funnily enough, I don't disagree with you. I think they are brave to take such a stand on something they believe passionately in. That is always to be admired. I don't admire the tactics that have been used for the reasons that you will be very well aware of. But anyone who's prepared to go to jail for their beliefs is to be admired. So I hesitate to say good for them, but I wish them well, because it will not be a pleasant experience inside prison for them. Dozens more of your activist friends are set to be issued with similar proceedings for breaking injunctions in various places. So this could become a bit of a refrain, and we may see many more Insulate Britain protesters being put behind bars. Will this in any way change your tactics, Bing?
Well, I urge you and I urge your listeners to think about it. You know, why are ordinary people going to such enormous lengths? And why are there 9 today? And why are there going to be another 23 in a couple of weeks' time? And are there not going to be loads of people coming after them? This is a standard process. When the large number of people in the population feels that they're being let down by their government, feels that their government is not looking after them, feels that their government is not coming to save them, then they're going to come forward, aren't they? They're going to stand up. It's as I say, it's the only honourable thing to do if you feel really, really worried, is to keep coming forward. And so I'm sorry, but this is going to go on until the government comes to its senses. And, you know, we can hope and we can pray, but I see very few signs yet that they are going to come and to talk to us about this very simple thing that we're putting forward. Straightforward, people can understand it. Insulate homes, knock 15% off our emissions, make loads of jobs and lift millions out of fuel poverty. It's a simple, straightforward, low-hanging fruit that the government could actually do something about, make a better world.
But you don't just want to talk to the government. You want the government to do exactly what you say, what you demand. Do you think that's in the spirit of democracy? I'm all for your right to protest. I don't like the methods you use, but every citizen of this country has a right to demonstrate for what they believe in. But I don't think it's very democratic to believe that your cause is so sacred that you have the right to demand a democratically elected government does what it doesn't want to do.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Kevin. These are extraordinary actions for extraordinary circumstances. But for me, the fact is that the majority of your listeners will have heard so much coverage, but still don't really understand how absolutely terrifying this climate crisis is. And these people are not doing it for some kind of whim. They're not a kind of a cult. All they're doing is talking about the things which really major international organizations are saying. So David King is talking about 3 to 4 years in which we have to act. Our own Department of the Environment is talking about adapt or die. The Chatham House, which is the Royal
we know all about this,
you know,
Bing. I mean, we get these prophecies of doom, ad infinitum every single day. We've just had 2 weeks of it at Flop 26. I couldn't quite work out what the hell was going on up there. A kind of festival of private jet hypocrisy, where all the world leaders gathered to demand climate change action, while protesters outside demanded climate change action, while Prince Charles went up there and demanded climate change action, and nothing seemed to get achieved. So we know all about these prophecies of doom. Do you think it's fair that members of Insulate Britain are now being sent to prison, and there will be more, when not a single Extinction Rebellion protester ever got sent to prison?
I don't think it's fair that anybody gets sent to prison, but I think if there were to be any fairness, it would be that the people who are causing the climate crisis and the people that are maintaining it, that they went to prison. BP made $1 billion a month profit for the last 3 months. The fossil fuel industry is a $25 trillion business.
Bing, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know all this. But what I feel about people like you, and sorry to generalize, that's a ridiculous thing to do, but what I feel about your organization is you are so imbued with your own saintly correctness, that you're so convinced that you're right, that you have no time for people like me who don't think that you're right. I don't accept there's a climate change emergency. I don't accept necessarily that mankind is responsible for climate change. And you stamp people like you, maybe not you seem like a reasonable guy, but your ilk stamp me down as if I'm some kind of evil denier. I do not deny climate change. I've never seen any proof that mankind is solely responsible for what's going on.
Well, Kevin, all I can say is that you're out on a limb. Because
I'm not out on a limb. I'm not, Bing. There are millions of us who were sickened by that hypocrisy in Glasgow. And I don't just mean the private jet world leaders. I mean Greta Thunberg. I mean the protesters. I mean Insulate Britain. I mean Extinction Rebellion. We're sickened by it because you've got no time. You do not listen to us because you just feel in a kind of godlike way that you're entirely right and we're entirely wrong. Well, I've got news for you. There's probably middle ground somewhere, and it's not exactly where you're sitting.
Well, the problem is that the scientific
don't start scientific. You've always got loads and loads of information.
I appreciate that you and I feel differently, but surely there are lots of people. My wife and I feel differently a lot of the time. This is not about feelings. This is about physics. And the physics is really, really clear. And it's also about economics. I'm sorry, Kevin.
It isn't clear.
We must talk about money.
It's debatable. It's debatable is what it is. It isn't clear. It isn't a fact what you're saying. It is debatable statistics.
I disagree with you.
Well, of course you do.
The statistics are clear. But anyway, even if you're skeptical, and I respect your being skeptical, nobody's absolutely right about anything. But even if there's a small risk of your child's plane crashing, say a 1 in 20 risk, you're not going to put your child on the plane, are you?
Well, it's 1 in 20.
Risks are enormous. I'm a doctor, and there's consensus in the medical press. There was a group article of 130 or so journals recently, all saying the same thing. That climate change, apart from anything else, is by far the biggest public health problem that we're going to face.
Bing, elsewhere you can find consensus saying exactly the opposite. So this is a debate. It isn't a done deal. It is not a done fact. But listen, it's been interesting talking to you. I want one more question. We'll agree to, in a respectful way, we'll agree to disagree. One more question. Will Insulate Britain continue to block roads as a protest?
Insulate Britain will continue to look at the facts, and as long as the facts seem frightening, and I'm sure that they are going to be frightening, we are going to be looking at more floods and more
But
famines
will you
and
continue to
more
block
people.
roads?
But we will yes, we will continue to block roads as long as they get us publicity. We've raised our market awareness from 0 to nearly 80% in a few weeks.
Yes.
That's absolutely amazing. Nobody can argue with that.
I will certainly give you that. Sorry, I said last question, but I got one more. In a way, have the authorities played into your hands by jailing some of your number and threatening to jail more? Because that, in a sense, has created martyrs, as you just said, more publicity. So, in a kind of perverse way, is it good that people are being sent to jail from Insulate Britain?
Yes, that is part of the plan. And the plan is to raise the awareness. Well, I want your leaders, your listeners, not to listen to me, not to listen to you, but to go and find the facts out. Look on the Chatham House website, look on the Met Office website, look at the Department of the Environment, find out the facts, because I think the facts are frightening. And I think that we all deserve the future and our children and nature to look at them really carefully. Thank you, Kevin.
I think that's fair advice. I would urge everyone to look at the panorama of information about climate change, because there are a lot of people say it isn't an emergency. There are a lot of people who do not agree with you, but they should look at all sides of the argument. Time is against us. It's been very interesting talking to you. I hope we can talk again. Thank you so much for your time. It's Dr. Bing Jones, spokesman for Insulate Britain and a former NHS doctor. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and this is Talk Radio.